I can't believe I'm talking about this, but a fight broke out this past weekend at R6's Invitational, an event we're going to in a few days, and evidently we'll be stepping into some big drama, as it was actually during a series with Dark Zero versus M80. Unfortunately, after this series, M80 was sent to the lower bracket. We'll have updates on that in the back half of the video, but it led to a near physical altercation between opposing coaches on both of these teams, a clip that has now gone viral.
A first for us. The penalty giving DZ some motivation. They still win though. Oh my. DZ move on to face Furia later today. M80 has a date with Kag Osaka tomorrow.
Lower bracket run begins. Hopefully they're going to be able to be a bit more behaved in the lower bracket. Bodega still not happy.
They say in politics, if you're talking, you're losing.
Yeah.
There's been an awful lot of talking going on.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like DZ cares much of an inch.
A lot of words being exchanged. Bodega's he's a man of many words, and he'll be talking for a while about this, I'm sure. Jeez.
Who says esports is boring? Not me, that's for sure.
And it was because of this altercation where eventually SI decided to eject Bodega from the entire event, which is not something you see in gaming too often, an altercation leading to a coach/manager being ejected from the entire tournament. But also as a TO or an organizer, you probably don't want these altercations to escalate, right? You don't want physical violence, and you don't want someone who has been repeatedly warned to keep on doing said things, as Bodega also apparently has a history of doing these kind of things. And yeah, I mean, the ejection might seem a bit harsh to some people out there and might seem a bit soft to others. I actually really enjoyed the passion of these coaches, by the way, who were going back and forth throughout the entire series. At one point, they were just yelling at the wall, which I got to admit was a little entertaining.
Great timing, great patience.
And you lost to me! Ashamed! You should be ashamed!
Naif is often talked about.
And you should be ashamed, Campbell. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed.
Boo-Boo's not happy.
How could you tell?
But there are limits to what you can do, right? And something has to draw the line of what is right and what is wrong. Now, beyond that, though, where the situation actually stemmed from, where the altercation probably stemmed from, was a ruling earlier on in that map where Dark Zero was actually gifted around because Bodega kept communicating with M80's players outside of timeouts, which most commonly across a lot of games, you can only communicate as a coach with your players during timeouts. He was warned twice for doing this. He did it a third time, and eventually Dark Zero was gifted around because of it.
So Dark Zero has been gifted a free round at the expense of M80 as punishment for Bodega being cited as interfering with team comms. Now keep in mind there have been a couple changes to the way that coaches and teams are able to communicate with one another. Number one, when there were a lot of tech issues, sometimes maybe mysterious tech issues, teams would use that time to strategize. A rule then came into place that prevented players from speaking when tech issues happened. Incidentally, the number of tech issues dropped shortly thereafter.
Yep.
Maybe it's a coincidence, but coaches are only allowed to talk to their players in live action twice.
And so you have that gifted round, the yelling back and forth between these coaches behind the players, and then ultimately, of course, the altercation at the end, which is a shocking moment, to say the least. You don't see it very often at events, especially with the ejection. I think the more so sad part of the story is, as of me recording today, M80 have now lost their following series in the lower bracket, and their run has now come to an end because, you know, part of that being you don't have a coach behind you, and you got to be so flustered as a player to. It's got to be the resolve these guys would have had to actually have after a series like that yesterday and going into today without a coach. It would have been an amazing run to watch, and it has you feeling for the M80 guys. Speaking of which, they spoke after this series, the previous one where Bodega was ejected, and also M80's CEO had a response on the situation. As Kino had said, we all talked, and I assure all the fans we're hungrier than ever. We're not letting this affect us at all. Lower run starts tomorrow with a fire in our effing arses. Have some faith in us. And unfortunately, a follow-up this morning after their elimination saying, circumstances aside, nobody else to blame but but ourselves. Coach or not, we didn't show up. Losing is learning, but dang, this effing sucks. I truly apologize to all the M80 fans. Another SI and another failure. I believe in this roster and we had glimpses of greatness, but at the end of the day, we were not prepared enough. And Marco, the CEO, saying disappointed and shocked by what transpired during and after the match today. Completely unacceptable. Sorry to the players, fans, Ubisoft staff, and Dark Zero for what took place. Completely ashamed of how M80 was represented today. Really, no words. And what took the cake for a lot of people out there is how Bodega's behavior, not only, in the venue, but also on Twitter afterwards. I believe a lot of these things have been deleted and probably should be deleted. He was trying to defend his actions and maybe accuse others out there and take to the tape, even though the tape showed a lot of obvious things. And even at one point, he wanted to sue Pengu, which is definitely a choice for defamation of all things out there. So ultimately, drama strikes R6 SI, and it was entertaining, but certainly probably pushed past the limits of what should be accepted. And it was madness. So till next time, what do you guys think about this? I will be at SI in a few days. Very excited to see the runs a lot of these teams continue to make and shake things up. So we'll see you back here sometime soon. Till then, take care of yourselves. All right, ta-ta.